Unit 1A Test Review, Question 13. Describe how you can write two different functions for a graph that is continuous on the restricted domain of 0 to 6 that contains the points 0, 0, 3, 5, and 6, 0. And if I look at those, I'm going to go ahead and connect the dots, and I see that I have an inverted V, so I'm thinking V, absolute value. So I think one way I could write it is as an absolute value with this restricted domain. So there's an absolute value one. And then I know from my lessons that the absolute value can be written as two linear piecewise functions, or piecewise functions with two linear pieces. And so I'm also going to do a piecewise function, and that would solve this. So when I look at the absolute value function, I'm going to have f of x, and I want to know what this point is because this is my vertex, and I know it's been transformed up to this point. So let's see, this point is going to be the 3, 5, so I need that point. And I also see that my absolute value is inverted, so I know that it's negative. So that a value in front, I'm going to do a negative because it's been reflected over the x-axis. And I'm also going to do my slope. I see that it's gone up 5 and it's gone over 3. So my slope for this one is going to be a 5/3. And I'm going to do the absolute value sign. And when I see that it moved from 0, 0 to 3, 5, I know that it moved right 3, so I'm going to have an x minus 3. And then at the point 3, 5, I know that point went from 0, 0 and went up to 5, so I'll have a plus 5 on the end. Now, to make this not have all the rest of the absolute value and to stop here and here and go from a 0 to 6, I'm going to restrict the domain. So I will give you a comma, and I will do an inequality after the comma to restrict that domain, and it would be where x is between a 0 and a 6, and that would be my absolute value. Now, if I wanted to move this into a piecewise function, I'm still going to have to say f of x. I noticed on some of my knowledge text, some people left off the f of x, but in a piecewise function, I still have to have a y equal, and then I have to have the big bracket so that my piecewise function will go in here. Now, I'm going to keep it in this transformation form, even though I'm writing a linear. I'm going to keep it in this transformation form just to make it easier, and I'm going to have then a 5/3. Now, instead of absolute value sign, I'm going to have a parenthesis for my linear to keep my linear together, and I'm going to have an x minus 3 and then a plus 5, and then I just have to restrict its domain, and this is going to be the negative slope line, so I'm going to be looking at this one, and so that is going to go from 0, not 0, Misty, it's going to go from 3 to is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 6. And then my second equation is going to be the negative 5/3. Instead of a negative 5/3, I'm going to have a positive 5/3, x minus 3 plus 5. And my positive side is going to be this side. So that is going to go between a 0 and a 3. Okay, and I also need a comma after that 5. So that would be my piecewise function, and at the top, that would be my absolute value function. So there's two different ways to write the function for the same graph.